Hi, I'm Thomas Hunt.
And I'm Wayne Brady.
And this is the Bad News Network. David Lindstone has been living in the woods of New Hampshire for almost 30 years. He is an 81-year-old man who has been living off the land in a small cabin on some private land. The latter portion of the sentence is why David has recently been kicked out of the cabin. The cabin was hidden off of Interstate 93 by trees on 73-acre plots of land used for cutting and harvesting wood. Unfortunately for David, the owners of the property only recently found out that he was living there, and now they want him to leave. Over the past 3 decades, David had done some pretty cool stuff around the cabin to make his life easier. He installed solar panels on top of the cabin for electricity, converted a wood stove into a beehive, and then even made a pulley system to get wood into the house during the winter. This guy was like Hobo MacGyver. Dave made gardening plots, hunted his own food, and even had pets in the cabin that he took care of. He was living a pretty cool life and wasn't hurting anyone, and not paying taxes, which promoted the government to say, "Hold the f*** up." There is a good chance Dave could have had unlicensed kayak rental businesses out there, but as long as he paid his taxes, they would have left him alone. Dave isn't your usual squatter, though. He's gained many friends over the years of living in the cabin, even earning the nickname River Dave from his locals. After being arrested for squatting on July 15th, authorities told David he could leave if he agreed to leave the cabin, which he answered with a big f*** off. So he was not released. On Wednesday morning, the cabin was mysteriously burnt to the ground, which is weird because the original owner had been trying to get the barn torn down for a while. I wonder who could have done it. Good luck to River Dave and his future endeavors.
You know what's worse than being constipated? Being constipated and having an 8-inch eel wiggle around in your asshole. An unnamed man was having stomach pains due to constipation and had finally had enough. Apparently there was no X-Lax or any kind of diuretic in China because this man's first remedy to cure his constipation was to shove an eel up his ass. Unfortunately, this isn't the Flintstones and animals don't just live to work for us, and the eel had a plan of its own. After being shoved into this man's rectum, the eel, instead of magically curing his constipation, took a big old bite out of this man's colon and headed into his abdomen. Luckily for the man, he was able to get medical attention before any severe damage was done, even though he risked losing his life. Unfortunately for the eel, it was not removed from his ass fast enough to not get post-traumatic stress from the event. Sorry, buddy. There were a couple bad decisions made here, but the best thing the guy did was to make sure he remained nameless to the media. Good thing for him, he is not alone. In China, it is a folk legend that if you shove an eel up your ass, it can cure constipation. Thank God my grandma told me that scaring someone takes away their hiccups and not anything close to this. Most of the time, people who end up using this method end up in the hospital with intestinal injuries or even worse. Of course, people will lie to health officials about how the eel got up there, but we all know they're full of shit.
In You Sick Bastard news, Governor Cuomo is in another hot seat after playing musical chairs and leaving the other hot seat for his nursing home COVID incident. After 5 months of investigating the claims of sexual harassment and creating a toxic workplace, the findings seem to be quite ridiculous. The report is 168 pages in length and paints Cuomo as having a disturbing pattern of conduct by Governor of the great state of New York, as State Attorney General Letitia James put it. Even the president himself, when reached for comment without even mumbling or forgetting a word, which he typically does, said flat out, "I think he should resign." Well, Cuomo, it doesn't get any more hint than that. Being a stubborn New Yorker, he decided to ignore the president's advice and seems to be taking a stand to fight these charges to the bitter end. "The facts are much different than what has been portrayed," Cuomo said. Okay, buddy. Regardless, it looks like the dreaded Cuomo cuddles have come to an abrupt end for all those poor ladies.
Looks like whoever was playing Jumanji in North Carolina last month moved to Texas, which is great for us and less good for Tim Kennedy. A venomous West African Bandit Cobra was spotted in a large neighborhood in Grand Prairie, Texas. Good thing for the residents of this town, unlike the zebra cobra, the Bandit Cobra can't spit venom, and that is literally the only positive thing about it. The snake is still highly venomous and is able to blend into the local wildlife much better than the zebra cobra. Authorities say the owner of the Bandit Cobra has a permit to own the animal, but could still face legal ramifications because it's the owner's responsibility to make sure there is a proper enclosure for these animals. Since the snake has been originally reported missing, there has been no new tips or sightings of the snake. Authorities are asking people to call in immediately if they see the snake, but it's Texas, so there's a good chance the snake will find itself some good old country justice. With the amount of exotic animals getting loose around the United States, it really has me asking, what the f are people doing? Do you really need a venomous West African Bandit Cobra? No. Do you really need a pack of wild wolf dogs? Absolutely not. Is it necessary to have a jungle cat in your home? Also, no. The answer to all these questions is no. I also find it funny that when one of these animals escapes, people get up in arms about it. Guess what? It's why it's called a wild animal. If an animal escapes its enclosure to make it to the great outdoors, they win. Let them leave. Instead of being mad that you can't keep them in a tiny confined box with a shitty replication of their actual environment, just let them go live their lives, man. I'm tired of all these motherfucking snakes on this motherfucking plane.
In ironic news, the country of Mexico has decided to sue multiple major American gun manufacturers in court. The reason? They blame the rampant corruption and cartel violence on gun manufacturers, marketing to their vicious cartels. These gun manufacturers include Smith & Wesson, Barrett Firearms, Colts Manufacturing Company, Glock Incorporated, Sturm, Ruger & Company, and among others. Mexican officials told reporters the lawsuit sought an estimated $10 billion. The objective of Mexico's lawsuit is to make the companies listed compensate the government of Mexico for damages caused by negligent practices. Seems to me the only negligent practices would be the cartels purchasing weapons to kill their own people and continue to proliferate the drug trade through fear and torture. Forget it. I'm sure it's just the gun companies. It would mean that the cartels are smuggling American firearms illegally into their country, or stealing them from the Mexican military. That's crazy talk. This is nonsense when you think about it, when you consider how uncorrupt the entire Mexican government is. What a silly notion. Makes me laugh. Why so bold? Well, Mexican officials said that they had spent 2 years analyzing legal precedents over negligence by U.S. arms makers. They pointed cases including recent offers by Remington Arms Company to pay nearly $33 million to families to settle lawsuits, claiming that its marketing of the firearms contributed to the 2012 Sandy Hook school massacre. So let me get this straight. This kind of gun violence has been happening in your country for countless decades. But a school shooting in America is what gave you the hint of a possible entity to blame other than yourselves. It really shows you're not about the money, but just about the safety of your citizens. When you wait for the people to start making money on claims against firearms manufacturers, and then you throw your hat into the ring. Okay, you do your thing, Mexico. But if I get a hangover from my tequila shots this weekend, God help you. I'll be seeking compensation from your country for the ibuprofen that will need to be purchased. You did this, not me.
Everyone misplaces things from time to time. Forget your wallet before you leave for work? Classic. Lose your keys in the couch cushions? Done it a million times. Forget where I put a $6,000 bottle of whiskey? Okay, I haven't f***ed up that bad, but former Secretary of State Mike Pompeo has. Pompeo was given a bottle of whiskey by the government of Japan while he was on a trip there in 2019 for a Group of 20 summit. Many gifts are traded from politician to politician during these events, but this bottle of whiskey has no current record of its whereabouts. Easy answer might be that Pompeo got rowdy one night and downed the whole bottle. Makes sense. It was given to him as a gift, right? Wrong. Even though the bottle of whiskey was given directly to Pompeo, it was not actually his. When elected officials from the United States get gifts over a certain value from other countries' elected officials, they have a couple of options. They can either give the gift to the National Archives or another governing entity, or they can buy the gift for themselves. So, if Pompeo really did want that bottle of whiskey, he would have to pay $6,000 of his own money in order to get it. Lame. That's like when your mom used to tell you she would keep your birthday money safe and you never saw that money again. What are you doing with that money, Mom? The State Department is currently looking into the missing bottle but has no leads on where it might be. Pompeo's lawyer said that he did not know the disposition of the bottle, which basically means he housed it and didn't know how much it cost. Big oops.
And finally, in Florida Man news, Rezabalucci decided he was bored of the traditional traveling methods like driving or flying and wanted to try something a little different. For the past 5 years, Reza has been building a new state-of-the-art seafaring device that is going to change the world. He actually just made a shitty version of one of those orbs you can run in. You know, like those guinea pig balls, but for humans. Reza's flotation device was a little different. The primary housing area was made out of a rounded cage and is surrounded by plastic flotation devices. The only way to propel this device forward is to run. Hard pass. Reza's original goal was to run this device from Florida to somewhere in the northern US or Bermuda. I guess that's kind of a plan. After starting his trek, Reza was hopeful. He packed a Gatorade, protein bars, and chewing gum for nutrition. He has a water purifier to drink water, and more than anything else, he had confidence. Man, did he have confidence. But as we all know, confidence, it only gets you so far, and Reza ended up traveling 30 miles south of his original launch point, so backwards. Currents suck. During his trip, Reza had realized that someone had stolen some of his safety and navigation equipment, which is the reason for the failed trip. Reza still plans on making a trip in his flotation death cage at some point, telling reporters, "My goal is to not only raise money for homeless people, but also to raise money for the Coast Guard, raise money for the police department, raise money for the fire department." Quick question, who the donated? Reza also followed up saying, "I will show people anything you want to do it. Don't listen to anyone. Chase your dreams." Which turned out to be bullshit since he failed. And with that, I'm Thomas Hunt.
And is Wayne Brady gonna have to choke a
And this is the Bad News Network. Our news is at least as bad as the news you're getting already, and if you're slapping fannies and killing grannies, it might get you in hot water eventually, even in New York. As always, you can use the code BNN to get 25% off your order at rangerup.com, and don't forget to check out Nick and Matt's OnlyFans page at Nick and Matt. You guys have an excellent weekend.